Between us, Andy and I have sold a lot of books, but let me tell you about a meeting I had with a guy a few years ago who's one of his books has sold over 30 million copies worldwide. His name's Stephen Covey, not COVID, Stephen Covey, and the book in question is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. In 2008, I was speaking at a conference in Australia at the Sydney Convention Centre, and Stephen Covey was there. I got a chance to meet him. One morning, I got down into the auditorium super early, did a sound check, checked my slides. I said, has Stephen Covey been down yet? They said, no, we're expecting him soon. 20 minutes later, he walks in, he checks his slides, his sound checks, he's walking out. I'm thinking, McGee, here's your big moment. I raise myself up to my full height of 5'7", stride over confidently towards him and go, Mr. Covey, my name is Paul McGee, I'm the sumo guy, I'm speaking after you today. It's an honour to meet you. And he goes, sumo, what's that about? So I tell him what sumo's about. And he said, where are you from? I said, Manchester in England. He said, have you got kids? I said, yeah, I've got a couple of kids. What about yourself? He said, yeah, I've got 9 children. And get this, 52 grandchildren. 52! That's what happens when you don't have a Netflix subscription. Anyway, I was tempted to ask him, can you name all your grandchildren? But, I'd not had breakfast. The conference was starting shortly. So I asked him a question. In your book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen, which would you say is perhaps the most important habit? He said, you know what? That is a question I'm often asked. I'm like thinking, oh, sorry for not being original. He said, they're all equally important, but you've got to start with the first one. And I'm like, yeah, you've got to start with the first one. Folks, in my mind, I couldn't even remember what his flipping first habit was. I think he sensed my awkwardness and he just said this, be proactive. And in be proactive, it's not like these 2 circles, this large circle and then in the middle, this inner circle. And this large circle represents our sphere of concern. It's things that concern us, but which are out of our control. There's a lot of things that are concerning to us, but are out of our control. But the inner circle is this, what I call your green zone. He called it your circle of influence, but I call it like your green zone. It's your circle of control, your circle of influence. And Covey said, the thing we've got to be aware of, Paul, is the fact that there's lots of things in our circle of concern that we just do a lot of thinking about and talking about and focusing on, like the past, like worrying about the future. He said the thing is, being proactive is having to start by first accepting there are things out of our control. We have to accept that. But there are things that we can control and influence. We might not be able to control and influence our future because it's not happened yet. We get to create it. But every single day, Covey said, focus on what you can do rather than having all your attention on what you can't do. And that's what the happiness revolution is about. It's about saying, look, there are things that have happened, they're over, they're in the past. And there are things that might happen in the future, but you know what we can control? Not the future, but we can really influence today. Our daily choices matter. It's not about saying, oh, well, whatever will be, will be. It's not about being passive. It's about being proactive. Focus on that green zone, that circle of influence. Every day, the choices you make will be helping you to become even happier.
So come on,